Welcome aboard Just Jets with your captain, Matt O'Leary. Buckle up and enjoy the ride.
Hey, and welcome to episode number 31 of Just Jets. Oh man, I wish things were going a little bit better. Matt O'Leary. Before we get started today, just wanted to mention that you can follow me on social media at Matt O'Leary NY. You can also subscribe to wherever you listen to this podcast. Please, that really helps me out a lot. Patreon.com/Matt O'Leary NY. Get you some bonus content. We always love bonus content, right, guys? Bonus content is a good thing. We like bonus content, so check that out. And got a new shirt in the store, so you might want to check that one out too. Dumb and Dumber, talking about Adam Gase and Dow Loggins. So just some housekeeping stuff. Got a new microphone. Hope you like the new mic and the new mic stand. A little more profesh. Get up real nice close to it. It's a nice microphone. I love it. I'm excited to do this show, even though not a lot of positive things to talk about. It's going to be therapeutic for me. And I'm sure you're a Jets fan watching this, listening to this, consuming this in some capacity. It's probably going to be therapeutic to listen to as well. I'd imagine so anyway. So we're going to start with the garbage that was the New York Jets matchup against the Buffalo Bills. I don't know how it can get much worse. In protest today, I am not wearing Jets merch. I am wearing my Matt Rule t-shirt. Yes, he is my boy. I am supporting him today. I'm just upset. I'm sure you're upset too. And there's a ton of reasons why to be upset. Darnold and Gase really struggled, which is the first topic I want to get to. So Sam Darnold's stat line. He threw for 215 yards, a touchdown, an interception. 69 of those yards came on one play to Jamison Crowder. Outside of that, and some garbage time stuff to Chris Herndon, it was a rough performance for game number 1 of year 3. And a lot of people began to call for Sam Darnold's dismissal, or it's time to move on from Sam Darnold. Draft Trevor Lawrence. I'm not ready to go that far yet. I'm not. I would like to see how the rest of this season plays out, please. I think that is completely fair to say that he looked poorly. To say that he is not the guy now is a stretch. Because 48 hours ago, I'm not a math podcast, folks, 24 hours before the game started, no one, or a very small fraction of the fan base, was actually saying, oh, we have to move on from Sam Darnold. Now it seems like you're a nut job if you say it's probably a bad idea to move on from Sam Darnold. There's no extreme. It's like one extreme or the other. You either like hate the guy, it's time to move on, Gase ruined him, forget that he's only 23 years old, forget that he flashed how many other times in his career. You're only going to focus on this one game recency bias, the last thing on our minds. And sure, Darnold has not had a perfect career before this. He had ups and downs his first 2 years. Going into year 3, you would hope that you wouldn't see the mistakes that you saw in the first game of the year. But we got a full 16-game sample size, hopefully, if there's no injuries or COVID doesn't come and ruin this season. So I would like to see the remainder of what happens this year before I make a decision on whether it's time to draft Trevor Lawrence or not. Yes, they looked really bad, and Sam looked really bad. That's okay to admit that Sam looked bad, because it's true. It did happen. But Gase pissed me off. He really bothered me, and this is just a common theme for Adam Gase. He does this to me week in and week out. The personnel. I talked about personnel, and I got criticized for talking about the personnel when the quarterback missed open receivers. You can do both. You can be critical of the quarterback and be critical of Gase for not putting him in a good situation. So the Jets rolled out wide receivers on the outside of, I almost said Braxton Berrios. It's not Braxton Berrios. They had, instead of Chris Hogan, a washed-up veteran, and they had on the other side Brashad Perryman, who, let's face it, Brashad Perryman's not as good as Robbie Anderson. We knew that to begin with. And he's been inconsistent in his entire career. He had like 5 good games at the end of last year. First half, I know he didn't start for Tampa Bay, but still, he hasn't been able to put it together. He bounced around. He was in Baltimore. He was in Cleveland. He was in Tampa. Now he's on the Jets. He's been on a ton of different teams. He's your number 1 receiver. I'm using that in air quotes because he's not really a number 1. Jets don't have a number 1. Crowder in the slot's fine. I'm not going to bash on Crowder, but with a poor wide receiving core right now, with Denzel Mims on the shelf as well, Adam Gase really didn't utilize his tight ends anywhere close to what I thought he was going to. He ran an 11 personnel essentially the entire game. On like 7 plays, he used 12 personnel. Like 11% of snaps. It's like, what the heck is happening here? What are we doing? Sam Darnold is good on the run, right? How many designed rollouts did you see? Designed? 0. For me, I saw 0. Someone tell me if I'm wrong, but I saw 0. And on top of that, yes, Le'Veon Bell ended up getting hurt, and he moves to IR, but we'll be talking about that in the next segment quickly. But they did not put Le'Veon Bell in the slot nearly enough. The best play on offense outside the Crowder play was the one of the rare times that he was lined up as a wide receiver. A frustrating start to the season for sure. A frustrating start, no doubt about it. And a frustrating start for Gase and Darnold. And they're going to be linked right now. And I would really like to see Darnold linked with someone who isn't Adam Gase. Like, I don't know, maybe Eric Bieniemy or a Greg Roman, because it must be a lot of fun to have an offense run by one of those two guys. I'm very envious of what they have in Baltimore and in Kansas City. I would much prefer that, but for right now, my biggest takeaway is not the defense giving up a ton of points and making Josh Allen look like he's an MVP candidate. It was the coach and the quarterback really struggling. That's the biggest takeaway from game 1 in the first game of the season. Yes, it's a long season, but Jet fans are rightfully dejected right now. Losing 27-17 doesn't tell the full picture. The Jets were not in this game. This was an ugly, ugly, ugly contest. It wasn't close. This was a brutally bad football game. And the Jets weren't in it, which leads me to the next thing. Someone who's not going to be in any of these games for at least 3 weeks. Le'Veon Bell is out with a hamstring. He left during the game against the Bills, and he's going to be out at least 3 weeks as he's moved to IR, which means for this upcoming week, you're going to have Frank Gore, Adams, and potentially, I mean, P. Ryan, if he's healthy, I doubt it, but they signed Kalen Ballage, finally. They tried to trade for him. Now they sign him. The running game is not going to be good with Le'Veon Bell out. It's just not. Frank Gore, at this point in his career, is not a feature back. He's not a lead back. He should not be getting as many reps as he's about to get over the next few weeks. Adams hasn't been good in the past couple of years. And as far as things go with Ballage, I don't know if he's the guy. I really don't know if he is going to be anywhere close to what he was 2 years ago. Last year, he was brutally bad. That's why they moved on from him in Miami. It's a mess right now at the running back position, along with most of the offense, just to, be completely honest with you and straight out forward with you. But with Le'Veon Bell out, this really hurts because that's your best weapon probably on offense. Now you got to feed Chris Herndon even more, which I'm not opposed to. I think that's probably a smart play to give Chris Herndon the ball as much as possible, but it's just not making life any easier on Sam Darnold. Going up against a really good defense in the San Francisco 49ers. They're going to be hungry too, that team. And it's not going to get easy. It's not. You have San Francisco, you have Indy, you have Denver. These are good football teams and teams who can play defense. It's going to be a tough stretch. I really don't know how they're going to be able to survive. I don't. And you know what? I was going to do a whole video on this, and I'm not going to – I probably will eventually do a whole video on this, but with what we saw in week 1, I don't know if this is an overreaction. This is just genuinely in my gut what I am feeling. I don't think Adam Gase makes it through the season. I don't. I think there is a realistic chance that he is gone before the bye week and that Greg Williams takes over the team and that Jim Bob Cooter is running the offense. So let's see when the Jets bye week. I don't remember off the top of my head what week it is. I might want to say 11. I'm going to check for you guys right now, but I'm going to pull up the schedule and we'll talk it through. I think there's a realistic chance that Adam Gase is not the head coach after week 17, meaning he made it through the entire season. You have Buffalo, 49ers in week 2, at Indy in week 3, home for Denver and Arizona in back-to-back weeks, then at the Chargers week 6, home against Buffalo, at Kansas City in week 8. Then you have New England at home, at Miami in week 10, the bye. He might not make it to week 10. He might not. There's a very realistic chance that the Jets could be 1-7 after their first 8 games of this year. There's a very realistic chance. I don't know how you scroll through and look and see that this team can compete with the way that they played in week 1. Now, maybe they completely turn things around in week 2. That's obviously what I'm hoping for. But with the performance that we saw and the thing that is the most recent, the taste that is most recently left in our mouths, it's not a good one. It's not. It's really freaking frustrating to watch your football team get completely embarrassed and make terrible, terrible, terrible mistakes on both sides of the football and get completely outcoached week in and week out, year after year after year after year. When is it going to change? When is this going to change? And what good does another 16 games, or at this point 15 games of Adam Gase do for this Jets football team? What does it do? It can't get worse. It could not get worse than what we've seen. They were a bottom 2 offense in the league last year, and they were a joke in week 1. It's not going to get any better. And Le'Veon Bell's out now too. Not that Adam Gase ever utilized him properly, but life just got that much harder. Which gets us to the next point. They're playing San Francisco, who's just coming off a loss against Arizona. I like Arizona. Cliff Kingsbury, Kyler Murray. I think they're going to be a fun offensive team this year. But they were the NFC champions last year. Granted, they're not. I don't think San Fran's going to be as good as what they were last year. I don't. But you look at that defense. My God, how is that Jets offensive line supposed to hold up against that defensive line? How is there supposed to be any separation from any of the Jets wide receivers? This could get ugly. It can again. We could have back-to-back ugly weeks. And I hope for Sam that it's not. I hope for Sam that it's not. But you can't tell me a team that was in the Super Bowl last year and who lost in week 1 isn't going to be motivated. This scares the life out of me, this game. I don't feel comfortable about it. I do think Sam is better in this game, despite it being tough. I'm not going to pick them to win. I'm not going to pick them to win this game, but I don't know how this team is going to score 20-plus points against San Francisco's defense. I don't. I think Sam can play better. Maybe they prove me wrong and they put up some points. I just don't exactly know how this offense is going to continue to survive with the lack of changes that Adam Gase doesn't implement, that he never implements. It's always, 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 always stick with the plan. My plan was fine. We didn't execute. That's always what it is with him. Always. They said the questions after the game, now that you saw how Buffalo came out, would you change anything? The man essentially got blown out. Yes, they only lost by 10, but this was a blowout, embarrassing loss. He said, I wouldn't change how I called anything. The ego on one of the more mediocre coaches in football is beyond me. This guy, my God, it's dangerous. But when you look at that San Francisco team, with that defensive line, Nick Bosa is going to be good, coming off the edge. I know Richard Sherman's a million years old at this point too, but he could still cover as the best of them. He's going to probably lock down Brashad Perryman, I'd imagine. And I don't even think Jimmy G's that good, but I don't think it's going to matter. I don't think Josh Allen's that good either, but I think that they're losing this game. I'll say 27-17. Again, back-to-back 27-17 games. I think the Jets lose by 10. Let's get to the voicemails. First one of the day, let's go to Westin in Florida, who has some Gase reaction. Let it rip, Westin. I'll be here with you.
Oh, boy. This is Westin from Florida, and God, that game was bad. I've watched a lot of bad Jets football in my lifetime, but that was rough. My question, I try to be a very positive Jets fan. You have to be. I try to be positive. I think for the best. But I am 100% on board team fire Gase. It was awful. He kept saying in practice and in summer camp, he just kept saying, I'm going to learn from my mistakes. I'm going to make it better this year. It's not going to be like it was last year. And it was just the same old stuff from last year, this game from Adam Gase. And I want to know your thought of, at this rate, with how he did today, how long before we can him? It can't be longer than week 5.
No.
Like, if he has another terrible game next week against San Francisco, which it's probably likely, and then maybe another 2 bad games, he's got to be out.
Yeah.
He's got to be out. We can't keep saying, oh, maybe this will be the year. We did this with Todd Bowles. I thought we kept him a little bit too long.
They did.
I don't want to do the same thing with Gase. Like, I certainly don't want to have him here for – was Todd Bowles here for 4 years? I believe he was.
He did.
So, yeah, thank you for taking the question. And, yeah, go Jets.
Oh, Westin, it's tough. It's really tough, Westin. It's not easy. Let's do it. Let's go through them. San Francisco, I'm going to say L, 0-2. Indy, maybe they could beat. We'll say 1-2. Denver, 1-3. Arizona, 1-4. Chargers, 1-5. Do you move them at 1-5? There's a very realistic chance this team could be 1-7. It could fall off the rails again. It really can. I don't think he makes it to the first Miami game in Week 10. How about that? Fair? Is that a fair answer? I don't think he makes it to the Miami game. God, that's depressing. Next up is Jeffrey from New Jersey. Wants to talk about the potential of getting the first overall pick. We're 1 game into the season, and this is the conversation. I'm not making fun of Jeffrey. It's completely realistic that the Jets get a top pick like this. It's sad that this is the conversation, and the season just started. Let's hear from Jeffrey.
Jeffrey from New Jersey. Hey, Matt. So I just watched this brutal game against the Bills. Not going to get into it, but this is a hypothetical question. So say, I know this is way too early, but say Sam continues to play the way he did and doesn't improve from last year, and you're the general manager. You have, say, the first pick in the draft, and you got to pick a new head coach because there's no way Gase would survive. And I know this may not be the possibility, but this is just a hypothetical question. What would you do? Thanks. I love your show. Bye.
Yeah, so thank you so much for the question, Jeffrey. It depends on how bad Darnold looks. I really don't want to move on from him. But I also, if you do move on, Trevor Lawrence seems like a really nice pick to have in there. Oh, this is so hard. All right. Hire Eric Bieniemy. Trade out of the pick. I'm not saying like complete move. You trade it for a haul, and you move back and you take Jamar Chase in the top 10, and you load up on offensive line, edge, corner, and let a real head coach work with Sam Darnold. And if he stinks again after year 4, then you get a new quarterback. Because I think you owe it to Sam to put him in a position where he could succeed. Because this is just a joke. It's a joke. Adam Gase, Darrell Loggins running the show with Rashad Perryman and Chris Hogan as your 2 outside receivers. That's so embarrassing. Next up is Phil calling in from Brooklyn. His week 1 reaction. Let's hear from Phil.
Hey, Matt, it's Phil from Brooklyn, New York, and boy, where do I begin?
I get it, buddy. I get the feeling.
It's just depressing. It really is. Gase doesn't know what he's doing. It's so obvious.
Agree.
Greg Williams is even having a hard time. Le'Veon Bell getting injured. Sam Darnold not even looking good. It's just depressing.
It is.
Really, Marcus May, the punter, rookie punter, and I guess McDougald and Austin looked good too. I guess those were the only keys I saw. But other than that, I don't really see anyone else improving. Mekhi Becton played a good game. I know that. But, I don't know. This is the earliest I've ever turned off a game. I turned it off mid second quarter.
Wow.
It's too depressing, Matt. And I'm sorry if I'm going on for too long. It's too depressing and it's too hard to watch. And I've only been a Jets fan for 10-ish years now. I don't know if that's been doing this for 50. I don't know how. But I don't know. Honestly, you're not going to like this, but if Sam Darnold plays like he did this week, for the next 15 weeks or couple weeks, I I don't see why Joe Douglas wouldn't go for a quarterback. I think we're going to have a top 5 pick if we keep playing like this. Maybe I am overreacting because this is a top 5 defense. It's not one of the best. But it was just horrible.
It was.
Just horrible. And it's the fact that Josh Allen didn't even play well that got me mad. It's just like, it's the Buffalo Bills and the fact that we couldn't get anything going. And one more thing to point out.
Sure.
I'm sorry about that. I was watching other games. Like, I was watching the Chiefs, I was watching the Patriots, I was watching some other teams. And I just think they are in a different league than us. It is insane.
100%.
I just watch these other teams and I'm thinking, why can't we do that? Why can't we look that good? I don't see it happening for another 5 years. They look like they're in another league. They really do. We look like an AFL team when I look at them. I don't know. It's just depressing. Sorry about my rampage, Matt. Love the video. Love the podcast. Happy it's moving to Wednesday so we can talk about the game. Stay safe and go Jets. Sadly.
Phil, it's tough. Everything you said, I think, is pretty much spot on. Even the part about Darnold, like, I'm still a big Darnold guy. We have to see how the rest of the season plays out. I don't think he plays as badly as he did in week 1, but if he does play like he did in week 1 the entirety of the season, then yeah, you probably are picking in the top 2, and you probably are taking a quarterback. Oh man, this is a lot. This is a lot. But when you watch the Chiefs, when you watch the Ravens, when you watch the Patriots, it's like they're playing a different sport. It's not even the same sport. The Jets are setting the NFL back by decades with how bad this offense is and how bad this team is. And it's been years and years of this. Essentially last 4, 5, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. 5 years in a row. Just brutally bad games, brutally bad football. It's tough. It's tough, Phil. You can rant all you want. This is a safe place for ranting. Depressed is a perfect word to describe this. This is not a good feeling to start the year. Next up is KJ from New Jersey, wants to talk some Gase.
Hey, Matt, this is KJ from New Jersey. First, I want to just give you a shout-out for your preseason show that you did with Douglas Durong. I actually used to be in a band with him in high school, and you two have inspired me to start my own channel.
Awesome.
I'm not going to plug myself on your platform, but I'll get with you on Twitter.
Cool.
But I just watched your Adam Gase video. I agree 100%. Going back to the video you did with Doug, the bad screens running on 2nd and long, it's terrible. It's like Adam Gase only knows one offense from 11 personnel. No adjustments after that at all. He should be using the 2 tight ends and Bell as a receiver. I agree 100%, but This offense just looks terrible. Outside of Bless Austin and Marcus May, the defense made Josh Allen look like an MVP. I saw a comment on Twitter last night where somebody was saying with what May did yesterday, is Jamal Adams' success just due to the system? And I'd say that, partly, but a good coordinator maximizes a player's talent. And Greg Williams does that. He adjusted in the second half, but Adam Gase is just completely lost out there. Agree with what you said on other quarterbacks last night. I don't particularly think Dak Prescott or Jared Goff are great quarterbacks, but they have systems that work to their strengths, and Adam Gase really is just lost there, and I wonder how much the clock is ticking on, ruining Sam Darnold. Going back to Buffalo 2 years ago, it's like night and day where this Jets offense is now versus where Buffalo is. Too many more games like this. I say it's, time to move on from Gase. And I wonder what you think of Jim Bob Cooter and what he did in Detroit as possibly, finishing out the year as a coordinator if Greg Williams is the coach. But, I'll watch your video and see what you say. Thanks.
Really appreciate it. Thank you so much, KJ. Good luck on the podcast and the YouTube channel, excuse me. And thank you for tuning in. It means a lot. I appreciate it. I would be completely fine with Jim Bob Cooter running the offense and Greg Williams running the defense and being the head coach to finish out the rest of the year. I think that's completely fine. Again, I said it earlier on this show, but it cannot get worse than what it currently is. Adam Gase does not have a single clue. He's close to ruining Sam Darnold. Part of it is on Sam. I do think that Sam has to be better, but Gase is so bad. It's so bad. And we sometimes forget because in the offseason there's so much fluff on him. So many fluff pieces. Spin zones trying to make it come out that he's good and that he's okay. He's not. He's really not. I don't know if he makes it through the season. I really think there's a legitimate chance that if it's not, depending on how they do in Detroit, my money would be on either Matt Patricia or Adam Gase being fired midseason. Those are the two front runners for who's going to go in the middle of the year. God, that's so depressing. Thanks, KJ, for the takes. I agree with you, man. And next up, we're going to go to Travis in Ohio. He's got a lot to say on week 1 also.
Hey, Matt. It's Travis from
Hey, buddy.
Ohio. Hey, I'm going to react, but try not to overreact to week 1. But I'm still fired up. I agree with everything you've posted and your recent reactions.
Thank you.
I was super let down by the defense, actually. No pass rush, all the big penalties. I expect more from Greg Williams. Also, if you only dress 2 quarterbacks, 3 running backs, 2 middle linebackers, and only a couple wide receivers, then where the blue hell are you committing all the players to positions on this roster? I mean, really.
True.
What the heck? I guess like all Gase's teams, so they all have injury histories, so it's not like he can condition or coach a damn team. It's a yearly trend, so it's not an excuse. Speaking of head case Gase, if you script out your first plays of the game that you practice all week and walk through before the game and all that, and that results in 3 and outs the first 3 possessions, and only a field goal as time runs out in the first half.
He's so right.
Then he has no excuses left. He doesn't. I mean, it's the definition of insanity. Kind of like being a Jets fan. It's, the same actions, expecting a different reaction after a million times. Anyway. All right. I'm done. Get rid of Gase. God, he's awful. But you stay because I love you.
Thank you.
Jamal Adams, especially after what he said yesterday. Oh, he's a dick. And go Jets. Hopefully it gets better. I actually thought the line played all right and hope that Sam Darnold doesn't have David Carr PTSD after the years of punishment behind a shitty line. Anyway, I'm sorry for all the cussing. You have a great week. Hopefully next is better. Bye.
Thank you, buddy. Appreciate it as always. Electric Factory phone calls from Travis from Ohio is a weekly thing at this point. Yeah. It's a lot to take in. It is. And a lot of you guys are upset about Adam Gase, and you have every single reason to be. The guy's been a bad head coach in this league for half a decade now. This isn't a small sample size. His teams are hurt every single year. Time and time again. Guys go away from Adam Gase and succeed and have big success elsewhere. And he comes in and things regress. Like Ryan Tannehill was better with Joe Philbin, and then he was better after he left. It's just, oh my God, it's so annoying. Like how the Jets were in a position to change head coaches after Todd Bowles, which was the right move. They should have got rid of McCagnon at the same time. We know. And you have Cliff Kingsbury, Matt Rule, Mike McCarthy. I'm not even a Mike McCarthy guy, but Mike McCarthy would have been better than Adam Gase. Adam Gase comes in. So many legitimate choices would have been fine. And you go with arguably the worst one. I think if you polled Jets fans on all the people they interviewed and the guy that you wanted them to hire the least, I think Adam Gase would have been at the top of everyone's list. The top. Like 95% of Jets fans would have said the same thing. If you said, who do you not want the Jets to hire? Adam Gase. Who do you want to hire? Probably a split between Mike McCarthy and Matt Rule. I'm a Matt Rule guy. I think Mike McCarthy's a little overrated. I think he had a bad game for Dallas. I don't understand his play call. But even so, like Mike McCarthy would be a better coach than Adam Gase. This is sad. This is brutal. I hope Sam turns it around too, Travis. I think you will. Last one. Aaron from Illinois wants to talk a little bit about Allen Robinson. Let's hear from him.
Hi, Matt. This is Aaron, and I'm from Illinois. So, as I was checking my phone, it sounds like that Allen Robinson wants out of Chicago because of there's contract talks, and the Bears are not really giving away the contract. So for the Jets side of things, since we know what happened week 1 of how bad the offense was, 3 straight 3-and-outs, it was awful. Darnold has no weapons. It's gonna be a long year, but we need to get him right now. We need to be one of the first teams on the phone right now and get a deal done, get the trade set in there. We have first-round picks. We have draft picks. I would give him like a first-round pick, and that's probably about it, and try to get Allen Robinson here. And if that does go through,
I don't even think it would take a first. It may, but
let's extend him.
Yes.
Allen Robinson could give you like 1,000 yards and possibly 100 yards. Possibly 100 catches and probably 7 touchdowns.
Agreed.
So I would get Allen Robinson right now. I would not wait for another day because Denzel Mims is on IR, Le'Veon Bell is on IR. Everybody's getting injured. Everybody keeps pulling their hamstrings for some weird reason. So yeah, man.
Preach.
I'm curious what you think of that, and if you agree that we should go after Allen Robinson. Thank you.
100% yes. In 2009, the Jets decided to trade mid-season or early in the season for a wide receiver to help their rookie quarterback. They traded for Braylon Edwards. They would then go to back-to-back AFC championship games with Braylon Edwards on the roster. He was very, very, very good for that team over the 2 years. And Allen Robinson is miles better than what Braylon Edwards was at that time. Braylon was fine. He was a good receiver. He was a very good receiver. But Allen Robinson is legit. He's one of the more underrated wide receivers in the NFL. He had 1,100 yards last year with Mitch Trubisky throwing him the football. What are we doing? I don't think it would take a first. They're going to be desperate. Chicago's not going to re-sign him. They'll be desperate. You might be able to get him for a third. You might. You very well might be able to get him for a third-round pick. I would do it so fast my head would spin. Put Sam Darnold in a position to succeed. The Jets haven't done that. It's so beyond frustrating. That's the theme of this episode. Yes, Sam Darnold played poorly this week. There's so much more context than just Sam Darnold played bad in week 1 against Buffalo. There's so much more context to why. And getting Allen Robinson, boy, would that help. That would help a ton. The Jets desperately need it. I would do it. They have the draft capital. Re-sign him. He's young. He's 27 years old. Do it. Joe Douglas, please, for the love of God, do it. We need this help. Thank you for tuning in. It was a therapeutic episode. It was tough to get through, but we got through it together. We're Jets fans. We're sticking around. So later this week, stick around on the YouTube channel. If you're watching on the YouTube channel, just subscribe right there. If you're listening on podcast form, head over to the YouTube channel. Throw a subscribe there as well. And I'll have a preview video, a full-length preview video for the 49ers. I gave some takes on the 49ers this week, though, and I'll give you predictions and look at both the offensive and defensive side of the ball. And I'll do more game coverage, and it's tough. We're going to get through it together. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm Matt O'Leary, and I'll talk to you next time.